That was in the year 2009. We have Dr. N.S. Rajan, who is here. Dr. Rajan, could you kindly rise so people just get to see who you are? Thank you. He was the person who helped us. Shri KTR, thank you so much. Very graceful, very grateful you are here. Thank you very much. I promise I won't take long. I'm just going to share with you a little bit about the history of the place. And of course, we did something called the Blue Book. The Blue Book gave us a lot of guidelines. Any institution needs to have a certain set of rules. All this got done by, this is a very interesting 7-page handover note that was made by Dr. Santrup Mishra. And these are all our heroes. And I'm not going to take you through all their names. You see their names out here, but some of them are very, very significant. Some of them are very, very significant. And if I take a look at some of these people, these are all the presidents, past presidents, and of course, our leadership. You had our presidents out here. We also have our regional presidents. Some of them are here. I do not know whether Rajeshwar Tripathi is here. Certainly Swati is here somewhere. Swati, thank you for being here. Prem Singh, Prem, thank you, Prem. And Sujoy, unfortunately, is not here. We have 34 chapters. And it has grown tremendously in the last 1 year. We also have our leadership from several places. Many of our leaders of our chapters are here, so welcome each one of you. I would also take a moment to talk about certain few people who in even smaller chapters have done yeoman work. So people like Aman Rajabali, thank you so much for what you have done. And of course, we have our significant contributors, people who have made a lot of time for this. And with this, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go very rapidly to talk about what we are today. 17,500 people, one international chapter, and we are growing. Most important is what you see out here. Picture abhi baki hai. There's a lot for today on that note. Thank you very much and truly appreciate your being here.
Thank you very much. That is who I like to call the man with 1,000 stories. Yes, thank you very much. That is S.V. Nathan, the President for NHRD. Absolute pleasure having you always. Yes, our honorary guest is here. And I will not do justice introducing him. So I'm going to ask Mr. Srinivas Vudumula to come over and introduce our honorary guest. Thank you. And please don't forget to give this person a big round of applause.
Thank you, Sophia. And once again, welcome to all of you out here and to Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to be here introducing Shri Kalvakuntla Taraka Ramarao Garu, popularly called KTR Garu. And for the people who know him very close, he's called Ram. That's what I heard. And I've been told that I should keep it brief. That's what he likes. So I'll try and quote a poem from a popular writer called Sri Sri. People who are from Andhra Pradesh or Telugu will know him very, very well. Srirangam Srinivasarao Garu. I'll read and I'll also give a translation for people who don't understand Telugu. It's a poem, I'm borrowing it from him, called Kontamandi Kurravallu. Right? Kontamandi Kurravallu, Puttukato Vruddhulu, Perlaki Pakirlu, Pukarlaki Nibaddalu. Basically, it says that some people are born old in their mind, in their actions, and they are slaves to the name and the reputation. Right? He also goes on to talk about what kind of a generation this country needs. This is something he wrote in the 1970s. Right? Kontamandi Yuvakalu Rabo Yugam Dutalu. Right? It says that there are some people who are ambassadors of the future. Pavana Navajivana Brindavana Nirmatalu. They are the people who will be building a blissful world for all of us. Varandariki na ahvanam, varandariki na vandanam, varandariki na ahvanam, varandariki na vandanam. That's what the poem says. He says that I welcome such young leaders. I also admire and bow to the young leaders. I think this aptly describes Mr. KT Ramarao Garu, and thank you for being here with us. In my mind, I'm obviously influenced by his work. So he is, by far, I think he's one of the most progressive ministers Telangana state has seen, and also a country like India has seen. And thank you for agreeing to be a chief guest for us. I also would like to invoke, while you can read a lot about what KT Ramarao Garu has done for the state, for the country, and other stuff, which all is available, I thought I will try and introduce him through knowledge of the people who know him pretty well. So I invoke one more reformist called Basavanna or Basava. He's a 12th century reformist. A lot of people from Karnataka and southern Andhra Pradesh will know about him. He said, saying that Kaya Kave Kailasa, which is basically nothing but work is worship. For him, he believes that work is worship. So what I heard from a lot of people who know him pretty well is that for KTR Garu, the only God is work. And you inspire us, sir. He's very pragmatic, practical, very modern in thinking. All of you will see his speeches. Both young, both in age and spirit, a very focused man on work and getting things done. A true CEO at work and a man in a hurry. Also heard that KTR Garu is a true Hyderabadi. I don't know how many people know that Hyderabad has a very special dialect called Dakini, right? So KTR Garu is supposed to be very, very fluent in Dakini and of course in English and Telugu. So he's a true Hyderabadi for all of us and the right person to be inaugurating this session. KTR Garu is a youth icon and equally a big fan following across generations, a popular leader for all of us and steering this whole state, and we believe that Hyderabad is at the center of the 5 trillion economy which this country is admiring to get there, and we look at KTR Garu to power that 5 trillion dream for all of us. In one word, if I have to say, KTR Garu is a karma yogi. And thank you for being with us, sir. Thank you for gracing the conference. Please come and deliver the keynote address, please. Thank you.
A very good morning to all of you. I promise you that I did not meet Srinivas before. I didn't put him up to all that. Called me a karma yogi and all that. I'm not too sure if I'm worth it, but thank you, Srinivas Garu, for those really, really kind words. A very good morning to the entire team of NHRD, Mr. Nathan, Vipul, Srinivas, to all the distinguished delegates who have come from, I'm told, about 25 different states and 50 different cities across the nation. Warm welcome to all of you, to this wonderful city of ours, Hyderabad, to this wonderful state of ours, Telangana. The topic, that has been given to me is decoding the economic future and how Hyderabad can act as a catalyst for a 5 trillion economy. Before I get into the subject per se, let me quickly point out a couple of things. Yesterday the budget was presented by the Union Finance Minister, and over the last several years, several decades, we've been hearing about numbers from every finance minister, every prime minister, every chief minister, every government representative on various forums. We've been hearing about how India is a compelling business opportunity. We've been hearing about how the world is looking at India, etc., etc. Before I talk about numbers, let me quickly give you a little bit of perspective, from being in politics and public life for the last 17 years. I was also a part of the private sector for about 7.5, 8 years in the US and also for some time in India as well. The one thing I've realized, both in public life and also when I was in the corporate sector, is that the biggest challenge for a leader, irrespective of who it is and what they run, at what institution they head, It could be a government headed in a state by a chief minister. It could be a government headed in a country by a prime minister or a president. Or it could be a corporate entity headed by a chief executive officer. The biggest challenge for any leader across the world is not wealth management or capital management. It actually is people management. Because the best of the people, in fact, deliver the goods and basically make an enterprise or an institution or an entity successful. That's a fact. Now, the case in point, I'd like to narrate a quick story. We always measure our economies in terms of trillions. We hear terms such as GDP, the gross domestic product, the gross state domestic product. We also hear terms such as per capita, etc., etc. But in my humble opinion, and without having to, I hope I'm not offending anybody when I say this, I think sometimes these can be misleading. The numbers, especially when it comes to numbers, it can be misleading. Because if you think about it for a minute, by virtue of our size as a nation, we are a 1.4 billion nation. We are, in fact, as of last week, if I am correct, we have recently surpassed China, and we are the most populous nation in the world today. So by sheer virtue of the size of our people, the size of our country, the population, the economy looks big. It is about $3.4 trillion now. But if you look at the per capita, by GDP, by economy, we're the 5th largest in the world. But if you look at per capita, we're actually the 142nd country in the world by per capita. Our per capita is only 2,400 USD. So the real measure, if you ask me, how does one understand the trillions of dollars of economy that is being talked about? How does one balance GDP and wealth? Now, for those of you who are wondering, what is the difference between GDP and wealth? If you ask me, GDP is a reflection, gross state domestic product, the 5 trillion, the $10 trillion, etc., are a reflection of the economic activity of a nation. It could be in the previous year, or GDP forecast could be about economic activity that is likely to unfold in the next quarter, in the next couple of quarters, or next 1 year, etc., etc. But what is the wealth of a nation? The wealth of a nation is actually a collection as a combination of its assets, both natural resources, its human resources, and how they are likely to influence the economic activity over a longer term, how the depreciation of these assets, these resources, the depletion of these resources, and how the utilization of these resources is intricately linked to ensuring long-term sustainable growth in line with the developmental aspirations of that particular nation. So, let me not confuse you, without giving you examples. I'll give you 2 examples. Back in 1987, China and India, exactly 35 years ago, 2 countries with similar size of human resources, had the exact same size of GDP, 1987. But if you actually now move 35 years ahead and look at the current times and current date, China's economy is almost at $18 trillion, and we are languishing at $3.4 trillion. China's per capita is 13,000 US dollars. Our per capita is 2,400 US dollars. So what am I talking about here? What did China do that India didn't in the last 35 years? In my humble opinion, if I have to sum it up properly in one single line, I think China managed its aspirations, its developmental goals, and ensured that the natural resources and human resources were put to good effective use, and has competed with the West and the best in the world to ensure it reached where it is. But even China has a long way to go. If you look at the size of the economy versus the size of the people, huge difference. I'll give you one example of another Asian country which has done tremendously well purely because of the intellect of its people. Japan. All of you know the story of Japan, at least most of you, I would imagine, would know the story of Japan. It's a country with about 12.57 crore people, not even 1/10 of India. And it's a country whose geography, in fact, is so complicated that 75% of the country is uninhabitable. 75% of the country is mountainous. The topography is such that it's a very, very densely populated country across the coastal areas. And China, unfortunately, Japan is one of those countries which is surrounded by oceans. So it's had frequent tsunamis, cyclones, typhoons, earthquakes, very little natural resources, very little cultivable area. Only 11% of the land is cultivable, and very little area where humans can actually inhabit. And on top of all this, if you remember, in World War II, Japan is the only country on the planet which had been bombed. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I'm sure all of you have heard. It's the only country which was ever under nuclear attack in 1940s. Now what happened then? Today Japan is the third largest economy in the world. In fact, until 2010, it was the second largest economy in the world. That's when China actually surpassed it. So what's happening in the world, if you think about it for a minute? India, with 140 crore people, with 40 crores of cultivable area, abundant natural resources, amazing talent, and most importantly, with a median age of 28, and with 65% of India being less than the age of 35, only has a 3.4 trillion economy. But Japan, with 12.57 crore people, with a median age of 49, has a 4.3 trillion economy with a per capita of $39,000. So what is happening in these two countries, if you think for a minute? The one thing I can tell you that Japan has done successfully, has invested in the sectors that matter, has invested in its people, has ensured that the focus of the government, the collective goal, the collective national ambition, the collective national aspiration as a nation was very well defined, was extremely well etched in the minds of every Japanese, and they went about it with a single-minded pursuit. In India, unfortunately, while we do have leaders, while we do have many smart leaders, unfortunately our focus is always on politics. We're not focused on economics. Our focus is on winning the next election. Our focus is not in ensuring that the next generation has a better life than ours. That's the unfortunate challenge in India. We're in perennial election mode, including me. I'm not trying to say that we are any different. That's the unfortunate reality of being the world's largest democracy, with elections happening throughout the year, and with every single politician, instead of being focused on economics, is always seized with more and more politics every single day. That's the problem with India right now. So what is it that I'm proposing? The question that I think we all need to ask ourselves is, should an economy, should a country's wealth be measured by numbers, by the 5 trillion numbers, by the 10 trillion or the 16 trillion numbers, or should it look at the most valuable asset that it possesses? In India's case, I think it's the think force that we have. India's think force, like I said, which is 65% with the median age of 35, 50% with the median age of 28. I think that's the biggest asset that India has. Unfortunately, not many countries have that. Like I said, Japan's median age is 49, China's median age is 39. I can go on. We're the youngest nation on the planet. But are we putting our human resources? Are we putting this human capital to good use? No. We have sociologically, psychologically as a nation. I was at a couple of schools yesterday and day before, meeting and interacting with young minds, youngsters. I kept asking them. I kept probing. I said, are you happy with the infrastructure? They said, okay, we are reasonably happy. I said, do you want anything more? They said, we are fine. And I kept asking and I kept probing. I asked them one question. I said, what do you want to be once you graduate, once you become a graduate or a postgraduate? About 99% of them said, I want to actually be employed. I want to be seeking a job. When I asked them, why do you want to be a job seeker? Why can't you be a job creator? Not many of them actually had a straight answer. As a society, as a nation, I think collectively, we have ensured that this amazing, abundant talent, abundant human capital that we have converted it into a huge, huge pile of worker bees, and not as somebody who thinks of creating wealth, of somebody who can create jobs, of somebody who can create free market enterprises which will thrive and compete with the best in the world. Unfortunately, in the last 75 years of independence, name one single brand from India that has come out which is truly having a global appeal. A real original Indian brand that truly has a brand appeal across the world. If you ask me, look around. You will be holding an Apple phone. You will be holding a Sony phone or a Samsung phone or one of those amazing brands. You must have come in a Toyota or a Honda or even a Suzuki, I don't know, BMW, Mercedes. All of these brands are alien. All of these brands are alien and have been created by small countries, a very small sized population. If you think for a minute, what is Taiwan famous for? Taiwan is famous for semiconductors. Taiwan is famous for electronics. What is Singapore famous for? A small country with about, I think, less than the size of Hyderabad. Half the population of Hyderabad is today almost $1 trillion economy. So what are we talking about here? Singapore can be $1 trillion economy, and a country like India is still dreaming and still talking about $5 trillion. It will happen. 5 trillion will happen. No matter if there is a government in Delhi or Hyderabad, it will happen. Even if there is no government, even if there is no prime minister, even if there is no chief minister, the 5 trillion dream will happen. It doesn't take a government to make that happen. Because it is the industry, it is the private sector, it is the people of this great nation that actually will make it happen. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is, are our leaders, is the leadership of this great nation, in fact, giving us a vision of reaching that $25 trillion or $30 trillion or being the highest per capita in the world? It's not about the 5 trillion size. It's about the per capita, how the wealth is distributed among its citizens. On the one hand, India has some of the richest people in the world. The richest. If you look at the top 10 index, I think there are 2 or 3 Indians. I think one of them has slipped out of top 10 yesterday, but that's a different story. But on the other hand, we also are the nation with the maximum number of poor people on the planet. So unless the wealth is distributed equitably, unless, I'm not preaching socialism, I'm not preaching communism. All I'm saying is, when the Honorable Prime Minister himself says, a freebie culture, revdi culture, theek nahi hai. Let me remind all of you in this room, we are still a third world country with the maximum number of poor people on the planet. While 5 trillion, 10 trillion goals are laudable, ambitious, noteworthy, praiseworthy, the fact remains, unless a government in India, every government in India, takes care of its most vulnerable, there will come a day when civil strife will ensue. And all those who are sitting here in the comforts of this wonderful auditorium will not be able to have such meetings if there is civil strife. So it is the bounden responsibility, it is the fundamental responsibility of every single government in this great nation to ensure that while the economy grows, the wealth also gets distributed. While the economy grows, the most vulnerable is also taken care of, and ensure that development and welfare go hand in hand. Now in Telangana, we have done exactly that. In the last 8 years, just to give you numbers, our per capita in 2014 in Telangana was 1,24,000 rupees. As of June last year, it rose to 2,78,000 rupees. When the national average, national per capita is only 1,49,000 rupees, Telangana's per capita is 2,78,000 rupees. The GSDP of Telangana was 5 lakh crores in 2014. As of June last year, it rose to 11.55 lakh crores. If I have to sum it up in one line, because we are talking about the 5 trillion economy, if the rest of India performed as well as Telangana did, we would have already been a 4.6 trillion economy today. That's how well Telangana has grown over the last 8 years. We grew at 15% compounded annual growth rate. We are a state, in terms of population, we are only 2.5% of India, but we contribute 5% to the GDP of India. So we are literally a 50-kilo boxer fighting in a 100-kilo category. We are punching double our weight. That's what I meant when I said people management. That's what I meant when I said expectations management, alignment of expectation with those of the needs of the people is important. In Telangana, we focused on the 3I mantra: innovation, infrastructure, inclusive growth. We ensured that all these three I's went hand in hand to ensure a fourth I, that is India, also raised along with us. On innovation, when I say innovation, a lot of people think startups. I don't just mean startups. Innovation can come from within the government in terms of new policy making. In Telangana, because I know there are a lot of chief executives also in the room, let me point out, we've innovated with our policy making. The first piece of legislation that we have drafted in the new state of Telangana in 2014 October was the TS iPass. TS iPass literally stands for the Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. What does it mean? I'll just give you three salient features of it. If you, as a chief executive, had to launch a new operation or a new factory in my state, you actually don't need to get a clearance from the government. You don't need an approval from the government. You don't need an approval from the local municipality. You don't need an approval from the local village panchayat. You can hit the ground running. If you have a piece of land that is already allocated to you, you can start the construction of your factory on day one by self-certifying yourselves that you will be in compliance with the law of the land. What we seek of you though, because we need to also ensure regulatory compliance is met with, we seek that you submit all details, the nature of business, the investment, the employment potential, the taxes you would be paying, etc., the category of industry, etc., on the TS iPass portal. When we receive all that information on the portal, we promise all clearances by statute, backed by legislation, in a span of 15 days. If we don't deliver on the 15-day promise, on the 16th day, it's a deemed approval, it's an automatic approval. No state in India will tell you this. No other state in India will tell you this. On the 16th day also, this TS iPass legislation gives me a handle to penalize even my senior bureaucrats with a penalty of rupees 1,000 per day if they are held responsible for holding up the clearances. Again, no other Indian state has done this in the last 75 years. For those of you who are wondering, is this too good to be true, or does it actually work in reality? Or since this guy is a politician wearing a white shirt, is he just BSing his way through? Let me tell you, in the last 8.5 years, we've been able to raise more than $47 billion of investment, have given more than 21,920 plus clearances through the TS iPass portal, have been able to create more than 2.1 million direct job potential, 21 lakh direct job potential in this state, and some amazing marquee names have come through this process in the last 8.5 years. Did you know that Amazon's world's largest campus is not in Seattle? It is actually in the city of Hyderabad and state of Telangana. Did you know that Apple, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Uber, Micron, ServiceNow, Qualcomm, Novartis, all of their second largest campuses in the world, Medtronic's second largest campuses in the world, are in this city of Hyderabad, in Telangana. Did you know that we produce 1/3 of world vaccines from this brilliant city of ours, Hyderabad? We are the vaccine capital of the world, not India. We produce 40% of pharmaceuticals for India. We also produce 1/3 of vaccines for the world. So this growth story that I was just talking about, of how well Telangana has done, not just in industry. While industry has been growing, Telangana's environmental goals also have not been compromised on. 7.7% is the growth of green cover in Telangana in the last 7 years, highest in the country. So this is the kind of well-rounded development I was talking about. Industry not at the cost of environment. IT has been growing. Our IT exports were 57,000 crores in 2014. As of last year, they rose to 1,83,000 crore. IT has been growing, but so has agriculture. Our agriculture has grown at 119%. Our paddy production in 2014 was 68 lakh metric tons. In 2022, it rose to 3.5 crore metric tons. We are the only state in India to have completed an amazing drinking water project of providing a potable drinking water connection to each and every one of our 1 crore homes, even before the government of India woke up, under a project called as Mission Bhagirath. In 75 years, we were the first state in India who had accomplished that. While drinking water has been taken care of, let me also indulge you for a minute. Those of you who are trigger happy, I request you to pull out your phones for a minute. Please do. Please Google. Please Google. World's largest lift irrigation project. And please tell me the answer, one of you, after you Google. World's largest lift irrigation project. Kaleshwaram project in Telangana. We literally lift a river from 80 meters above sea level all the way to 618 meters above sea level. We talk about 3 gorges, we talk about Chinese execution, etc., etc. But the fact is, the wonderful engineering human capital that we have in the state of Telangana were able to accomplish, the youngest state of India was able to accomplish an engineering feat of commissioning the world's largest lift irrigation project in a flat 4 years of time span. Now that's a record in itself, and that's why I call my state the most successful startup state of India, not because we had capital, not because we had resources, but because we had amazing human capital, and but because our Honorable Chief Minister recognizes the grassroots problems, has ensured that these amazing human resources were deployed in a logical fashion, in a methodical fashion to achieve these goals. So once again, when I have to talk about Hyderabad and how it can catalyze 5 trillion economy, I'll only say one thing. If only the rest of India can work like Telangana, if only the rest of India can be led by a leader like KCR, then I think 5 trillion is a joke. We'll actually reach a 15 trillion economy in the soonest possible time. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Jai Telangana.
Sir, you can just stay for a few minutes. Thank you, sir. Really very, very inspiring. And Nathan actually started the whole talk with the best city in the country to live is Hyderabad. That's where he started from. And truly, the innovation, the infrastructure, and the inclusive growth, which you touched upon, is really, really amazing. Thank you for that. We have requested if any questions people have. Poonam, you have any questions received? If you can just let us know, that'll be helpful. We requested people to write down on a card and give it. So, Poonam. In the meantime,
there are no questions also, sir.
No, please. No, there are people who have written the questions, sir.
There are no questions.
Poonam, you
also,
have?
Fine. Srinivas?
Yeah, please come.
Somebody get her a mic, no? Obviously, you guys are not using digital technologies as much as you should. Papers being passed.
I guess we have to get there soon. Absolutely, sir. Yeah, the question, sir, is Hyderabad is rapidly becoming the leading hub for MNCs and corporations. What steps would be taken by the HR community to be more inclusive and accommodating for top talent? What is your recommendation to the HR community to be, same thing, to be more inclusive and accommodating for top talent? This is one question.
Can I take these questions, actually?
Sure.
Okay, I don't have the names of the people who've asked these questions, but I'm going to try and... So, the question about environmental social governance, ESG, what are your views on the ESG policies and the efforts made by state to attending to them? A great question. I think the whole world has seized of the whole ESG philosophy and how all of these have to go hand in hand. And like I was pointing out, industry cannot be at the cost of environment. And in Telangana, while we focused, of course, on rapid industrialization, wealth creation, job creation, we focused equally effectively on ensuring that sustainable goals are also not compromised upon. So therefore, you see that the third largest effort in human history, not India, not by any state, not by any minister, chief minister or prime minister. The third largest effort in human history in terms of greening was done by Telangana. We planted more than 240 crore saplings over the period of last 7 years, and we ensured almost 80% survival. And the green cover of the state has risen from 24% to almost 31.7%. And our ambition is to be at 33, at least one third of the state being under that. Also, in terms of sustainable goals, we are, of course, I don't know, for those of you who are from outside of Hyderabad, let me tell you, Formula E is coming to India, and Hyderabad is hosting it on 11th of February. So we are actually doing an EV summit around it. We believe in sustainable mobility, we believe in all the goals of sustainability and circular economy as well. So we are absolutely in sync with the whole ESG philosophy, and we'll continue to work on it. The other question that was asked is, what are the skilling initiatives of government of Telangana for the next 5 years? Great question. I see BVR Mohan Reddy Garu here. Mr. Mohan Reddy never ever stops to remind me. He always reminds me wherever we meet. The most important thing that a country, a government, a state can focus and should focus and must focus is on ensuring that human resources are constantly upskilled, reskilled, and continuously skilled is what he keeps reminding me. We have an institution called as the Telangana Academy for Skills and Knowledge, TASK, which has trained more than 700,000 students, 7 lakh students in the last 8 years. We, of course, constantly keep adding new modules, constantly keep ensuring that, our core areas, core strengths are attended to. But we are also inviting the best of private sector enterprises to come in and set up private universities. In fact, I'm happy to share that we are setting up India's largest life sciences university. We are also in pursuit of setting up an aviation university. We also have a number of universities focused on ensuring that continuous focus is brought to skilling and continuous effort is made to harness the potential of our youngsters. Hyderabad is rapidly becoming the leading hub for MNCs and corporations. What steps should be taken by the HR community to be more inclusive and accommodating for the top talent? What is your recommendation to the HR community to be more inclusive and accommodating for the top talent? I think the one point I'd like to make quickly on talent is, see, I keep saying this and I can't say this enough. There are governments across the country in various states which have focused and have come out with some regressive policies to basically force the enterprises on local employment reservation. I call it regressive because of one simple reason. We have to think collectively as a country. See, an Indian who belongs to Kashmir or Kanyakumari should be able to have the latitude and the luxury to work anywhere in the country without any inhibition. He should not be stifled, he should not be inhibited. But at the same time, of course, we want locals to get more jobs. So what we have done, instead of taking that route where you are mandated to employ 75% or 80% locals, we have taken the other side. We said we'll take a progressive view, a positive outlook towards it. We appeal to all the enterprises out there. We tell them, if you want to come in and set up a campus or a factory in Telangana, we of course will provide you all the incentives. But if you employ locals, we will provide you additional incentives to 5% to 10%. So that kind of helps ensure that the locals get the much needed attention, the locals get the much needed employment opportunities. But having said that, it's a challenge because, like I said, Hyderabad has that magnetic appeal. It's where the north of India meets the south of India. It's where paratha meets dosa. It's where biology meets technology. It's where data sciences marries life sciences. It's where the mangoverse meets metaverse. I can go on. So this city like Hyderabad, city like Bombay, city like Bangalore, they will continue to attract the best of talent from across the country and also across the world. So we need to be able to provide opportunities to the best of them, the top tier, the middle tier, and also the bottom tier, to ensure that an inclusive approach is taken toward this. And talking about inclusivity, what is the support available for PWD employment? Of course, our government actually has a very specific policy, not just for employment, but also for entrepreneurship. Women, physically disabled and challenged, all of them actually are given a special quota in our industrial townships, in our employment opportunities. There are reservations and there are government orders to ensure that they are enforced. So once again, I thank. One last question. What are the initiatives taken by government towards making Telangana a healthcare hub, and especially for the nursing community, who are the backbone of healthcare? Absolutely. In fact, pandemic has shown us the mirror. Pandemic has shown not just my government, but across the country and across the world, every government, how woefully inadequate our medical infrastructure is. We saw Governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, lamenting how he doesn't have enough ventilators. We saw every Prime Minister across the nation, every President across the nation, trying to reach out to the vaccine manufacturers, to the pharmaceutical companies, trying to get as much as they can. So, with respect to the nursing community and healthcare requirements, let me tell you, we are doing some really, really pioneering things. Of course, Hyderabad is an important healthcare hub, not just for Telangana. In fact, we are an important healthcare hub for about 6 different states abutting us. Andhra, some part of Karnataka, some part of Maharashtra, some part of Chhattisgarh, and we also have some Odias coming here for their healthcare requirement. So we continue, of course, to grow infrastructure in the government sector. We are setting up 33 new medical colleges from the state of Telangana. We are also setting up 33 nursing colleges in each and every district in Telangana. We are setting up 4 super specialty hospitals in Hyderabad, each with 1,000 beds. And we are also setting up a 2,000-bedded hospital in the second largest town in Telangana called as Warangal. Now, nursing has been an important subject. While we have created institutions, we also have ensured that even courses, not just nursing courses, but also midwifery courses, are also given the prominence, so that more and more institutional deliveries happen, more and more better procedures are adopted in the state. We also have ensured that during the pandemic, we have given additional incentives to our nursing staff, to our health workers, so that they are incentivized in working in dangerous times and in terms of crisis as well. I can go on, but I think for paucity of time, I'll stop here. I once again thank the entire team of NHRD for giving me this wonderful opportunity to meet with you. Jai Telangana.
Thank you, sir. If we just say, I would request Vipul to felicitate sir with a small thing, and Professor Bala. Yeah, Professor Balasubramanian Garu from Balaji, please, can you come up on the stage, please? Sri Balaji University is our platinum sponsor and diamond sponsor, and we would like Bala sir to felicitate KTR Garu with a memento. Thank you, sir, for taking time out from your busy schedule. Really appreciate. Yep. Once again, can give a loud applause, standing ovation to KT Ramarao Garu for taking time out and coming here and inspiring all of us with his thoughts and setting the pace for maybe a $25 trillion economy and Telangana leading the way for the whole country. Thank you once again, sir.